Yo, what's good? It's your man 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. And today I wanted to do a video about the Milwaukee Bucks and just their off-season outlook. They had an amazing season, great season. Um, they were poised to make another championship run, and they were derailed by Chris Middleton's injury. I can't undersell how big of a blow that was to their championship hopes. And I think we all saw it, especially in that Boston series. But even with that, I feel like there's a lot of optimism for these Milwaukee Bucks. And so with that, I'm going to jump into that in this video. If you like the video, hit that like button for me. Hit the bell for notification. All right, and definitely subscribe. Now, one of the things that I always want to keep in mind is to keep the long view. The long view being that you're not just looking at right now, you're not just looking at next season, you're looking at over the next few seasons, where is this team at? And something that I really love about this team right now is how they're poised to maintain this core for the next 2 to 4 or 5 seasons. Right? They got Giannis locked up under contract, they got Middleton locked up under contract, Drew Holiday, right? And their timelines basically overlap in terms of when their contracts are going to be up, right? And Giannis has the longest term of contracts on this team. But when you look at the other supporting cast members, you also have a lot of those guys also still under contract, which is really, really important. Because what you don't want is to have to go out and try to find somebody to fill a void. So right now, this team is looking at Brook Lopez still locked up for next season, Pat Connaughton. Bobby Portis has a player option along with Connaughton, and I'm going to get to that in a moment. Chris Middleton is locked up through 23-24 season. Drew Holiday through 24-25, right? George Hill is even locked up through next season, and Grayson Allen through the 23-24 season, right? So with this core, you basically have to kind of like piecemeal, a roster around them, which if this is what you're starting with, you're in great shape because this is a championship core. And not a lot of teams know that about their core. A lot of teams are still trying to figure out, is their core a championship core? The Phoenix Suns just found out that their core is not a championship core quite yet, right? And so when we're thinking about next moves, one we have to say is Godspeed to the healing of Mr. Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton is one of those unsung heroes for teams. His ability to shoot, create, play, make, to play and defend multiple positions at 6'8". I believe he's got like a 7-foot wingspan, 6'11" wingspan, extremely mobile. What he brings to this team is incalculable. And so his health is going to be a huge aspect of what this team's outlook is going to be. And more than likely, Milwaukee will take the long run with him, meaning that they're not going to rush him back. Now, with that, you got to ask yourself, well, then what do they do in the offseason, right? They have a couple of guys that they want to make sure that they lock up and bring back. One of those guys is going to be Bobby Portis, who more than likely is going to opt out of his player option because he's only getting paid about $4 million next year. I think it's like $4.5 million next year, and the reality is he's worth way more than 4.5. He's a reliable scorer and rebounder at a championship level. He was able to drop 20 something points, 30 something points, double digit points throughout all last year's playoffs and in this year's playoffs, right? There's a lot of teams out there who could use a 6'10" forward center who's able to shoot the three, right? Efficiently post up, score, and be reliable when it matters the most, right? And so he's more than likely going to opt out. They're probably going to try to restructure his contract. Maybe they'll extend him now and bump him up to about at least 14 to 15 million a season because of what he brings. But then you also got to look at people like Brook Lopez, right? His contract, let me look at it here. It's only good through next season. Now it's guaranteed through next season, but he's not guaranteed after that. And given Brook Lopez's age, he may not be a high priority re-sign guy, right? Because he's already, I believe he's 30. Let me look it up real quick. Yeah, he was born in 88. So he's 33 years old, right? 33, just turned 34, it looks like. right? So after next season, all right, he's going into being 36 years of age, not a high re-sign priority, but he brings a lot to this team. And so this team is going to start looking to add pieces that potentially 2 to 3 years down the road, they can play major parts in this team. Now, one of the guys I also like that this team is going to have to figure out if they want to bring back is Wesley Matthews. Wesley Matthews played a huge role. He was likely more important than Pat Connaughton and Grayson Allen, who played big roles on this playoff team, right? He's able to provide great defense. He can defend forwards. He can defend guards. He's versatile. He's a reliable shooter, right? Not much of a scorer, but his toughness. He's one of those guys that you can really see yourself in a dogfight, really, really being in that huddle with you, really being somebody who's not going to back down, who's going to bring that physicality and that energy and be extremely competitive. Now the biggest question mark that I have is Jordan Nwora. Jordan Nwora. This guy, I think they drafted him expecting that he was going to be able to play a bigger role for this team, that he was more, NBA ready. He had a more NBA ready body, 6'8", 225 pounds, had some shooting ability, playmaking ability, but he just hasn't really come around. Now, if I'm Milwaukee, I double down on him. And this is why. Because he knows your system. He's acclimated to your stars, to how to play off of them. He's had some glimpses. They've been menial, but he's somebody that, hey, if you bring him off the bench, especially mid-season, in kind of those dog days of the league, December, January, right? He's somebody that you can bring in there, and he's going to give you good energy. He's a decent athlete. He has some skill, and he's not going to hurt you, right? And because of the age of this team, and because of how many players are going to be free agents at the end of this season, you want somebody with some familiarity, all right? The next guy that I see them having to figure out what they want to do with is, let me see my man right here. 1 second, look him up. Oh, yeah, it's Serge Ibaka. I think Serge Ibaka is probably done. He's just too injury prone at this point, even though he brings a great skill set, being able to defend the rim, shoot threes. He's a veteran. He has a championship ring already. You can trust him in the playoffs. You just can't trust him to stay healthy. And so either he's signing for the veteran minimum or you got to let him walk. Because if you bring back Bobby Portis on his extended deal, right, and then you still have Brook Lopez, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and then eventually getting back Chris Middleton, you got to start filling this out differently. Now, something that I would keep in mind is I think that Giannis is going to be able to play more center as he moves forward in his career, right? He's more than physically strong enough, and he's got plenty of mismatches throughout the league. And so what I would look to do is bring in some more wings that can also defend somewhere around that 6'8", 6'9", 6'7" range. Because what we saw against Boston is that Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum kind of had their way with the smaller guards who were attempting to check them, whether it was Grayson Allen, Pat Connaughton, whether it was even Wesley Matthews, who did an admirable job, right? But at the end of the day, Wesley Matthews is 6'5" on a good day, right? Jason Tatum is somewhere between 6'8", 6'9", right? Maybe 6'10" with the right pair of Nikes on, right? And so when you're trying to check those types of wings, even a team like the Dallas Mavericks is showing you that having a surplus of athletic wings who can also shoot is a huge advantage. It's a huge advantage. And I can imagine if they had another 6'8" perimeter defender, 6'7" perimeter defender who could also shoot threes, right? It would have changed things incredibly when it came to trying to defend the wing scorers for Boston. And so I'm looking for them to try to make a move in free agency. Maybe get somebody like a Jeff Green, 6'9", still has some good athleticism, veteran, right? You still got other guys like a Josh Jackson who still has some talent, still trying to find his way in the league, but can potentially be like a high energy 3-and-D wing that also has some playmaking ability, right? Outside of that, you got guys. I always forget his name, brother from the Charlotte Hornets. Cody Martin. Cody Martin might be somebody that's easily stealable, since the Charlotte Hornets have to re-sign Miles Bridges and likely it's going to be a $20+ million contract. They still got a team option on Jalen McDaniels. But going after a Cody Martin might be a well-timed move, considering that they still have James Bouknight, right? And they got Terry Rozier, both still under contract, and Kelly Oubre Jr., right? So they may not be trying to go too high in re-signing Cody Martin. But Cody Martin, just like his brother in Miami, really good athlete, great on the defensive end, has some ball handling, playmaking, and when their three-point shot is dropping, they can be a tremendous asset on the perimeter. They're both physical defenders, good leadership ability, and both really play a big difference in terms of adding toughness and physicality when you're trying to lock down more athletic scorers. Now this brings us to the draft. When we look at the NBA draft right now, the Bucks are going to be picking in the late 20s, mid 20s, pick number 24, right? They don't have a second round pick. They forfeited that. I believe that was for the whole tampering thing with Drew Holiday, right? Something like that. But it's to say that they got one pick, right? They may try to actually move into this draft in that second round because this draft has a huge dearth of assets that the NBA is looking for right now. In that 2-3-4, meaning shooting guard, small forward, power forward, versatile wing forward position. There are an incredible amount of guys available who have good skill sets, do play defense, decent athleticism, but produce really well in college. And so they might be looking to pursue somebody like a Patrick Baldwin, 6'9", 220 pounds out of Wisconsin. You got E.J. Liddell. These guys are very athletic, have great length, can shoot the ball, and play defense. And this is what Milwaukee needs to be looking for. And so they'll likely try to double up, bring back Jordan Nwora, which would be a smart move. Maybe grab a free agent like a Josh Jackson or Cody Martin, bring them in, and then also draft a player like Patrick Baldwin or E.J. Liddell and be able to plug them in. And so now you have depth. Now you can allow Chris Middleton to take his time coming back, right? Knowing that you're going to need him for the playoffs, right? You still got Bobby Portis, who's going to be able to give you minutes off the bench in that front court position, right? And you still got your guards. I believe they still got George Hill under contract. Let me just double check. George Hill, yes, is still under contract through next season for $4 million, right? So you got your backup point guard, right? You got your shooting guards and Grayson Allen, right? And Pat Connaughton if he opts in. I wouldn't go high to try to re-sign him either. But you got guys like Javon Carter, who you should try to bring back. DeAndre Bembry was pretty nice for them, even though I think they moved him on to Brooklyn later on. But as to say that this team has a lot of options, a great core to build around. Even though it's disappointing with the injury this season, the fact that you can know that you have a superstar that can get you through almost the first 2 rounds of the playoffs somewhat by himself is huge. Because let's not, kid ourselves. We understand Drew Holiday, at best, is a third option on a championship team, right? He's that fringe all-star level player. I think if we value defense more, he would be an all-star every single year, right? But it's to say that he's not really somebody you want to rely upon to drop 20-plus points a game. And that might be an area of his game that he wants to try to enhance a little bit, because if they're ever in this position again, they're going to need that. And as Giannis gets older, you don't want him having to drop 30 to 40 points every single game in order for them to be able to stay in games, especially if Chris Middleton is out, right? And so that might be something he's going to work on in the offseason. And that's another plus for this team. Outside of Chris Middleton, these guys don't have these major injuries that they're going to be healing through their offseason instead of being able to work on their game. And that's really important. And so expect Drew Holiday, who I think won a championship and then went right into the World Games to play with Team USA. So really didn't get an offseason to rest and work on their game. And so I'm expecting that this offseason, that's what we're going to see happen. But yeah, with that, I think this is an exciting team. They got an exciting future. They have probably the best player in the world in Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's still in his prime. He's locked up under contract, and he's happy. You don't have to worry about him thinking about, oh, do I want to leave? Do I want to go someplace else? You got none of those rumors going around. Um, right now, I want to say he's born in '94. So what is he? 28. 2022. Yeah, yeah. So he's 28 years old. He's at the height of his prime. The height of his prime. He's not injured. He's not hurt. He's going to be able to rest up, continue to work on his game, and I think it's going to be beautiful. Milwaukee Bucks. You should be happy if you're a Bucks fan. You're going to be at the top of the league for the next at least 3 to 5 years. At least. At least. So with that, that's the end of this video. If you like this video, smash that like button, hit subscribe, the bell for notifications, and let me know what you think. Do you think the Milwaukee Bucks have a bright future? I mean, it's hard not to. But what are some of your thoughts about the offseason? Who should they resign? Who should they look to move on from? Is there a trade deal out there for them you like? Let me know. That I'm going to holler at y'all next time. Peace.